The girl no one wanted. Karen was 8 cycles old when her world ended. Her species, the frail Yivran, were known throughout the galaxy for one thing, being prey. Small, thin-boned, easily frightened, they survived by scattering and hiding between the cracks of stronger civilizations. Karen had always been told to keep her head down, keep her voice small, and keep her hopes even smaller. But hope was a stubborn flame. She lived on the edge of Station Halopant, one of the busiest neutral trade hubs in the outer spirals. Her mother worked in sanitation, her father in ore sorting, both barely earning enough to keep their living units light on. Then the raiders came. The Gorthak, slavers with bone-plated armor and a love for terror. They stormed the station in a single night, tearing through security forces like thin metal sheets. Karen remembered the alarms, the screams, the smell of burnt circuitry. She remembered her parents shoving her under the floor panels. And she remembered the sound of them being dragged away. Hours later, when the station went silent, Karen crawled out. No one was left. Not her family. Not her neighbors. Anyone too young, too weak, too useless had simply been left behind. Which meant her. A surviving maintenance bot found her 2 days later and reported the discovery to the station's emergency beacon system. When rescuers finally arrived, they weren't from her people. They weren't from any species she recognized. They were humans. Karen had heard of them only in hushed whispers, giants, destroyers, monsters who fought wars no one else dared to touch. A race so physically overwhelming that even the Gorthak avoided provoking them. Some said humans were born without fear. Some said they ate their enemies. Some said they never abandoned their own. She didn't believe any of it. Until a human knelt down in front of her. He was enormous, wrapped in matte black armor, the word rescue stamped across his chest. His eyes were hidden behind a tinted visor that reflected her trembling form. "You're safe now," he said gently. His voice sounded like thunder softened by rain. Karen should have run. Instead, she burst into tears. The human scooped her up with impossible care. "Name?" he asked. Karen. He nodded. "I'm Captain Elias Ward. You're coming with us." And that was the day everything changed. The monsters who were kind. Karen expected the humans to throw her in a cage or force her to work. That's what strong species did to weak ones. But humans were different. They fed her, gave her warm clothes, let her sleep in a real bed on their ship, the Horizon Ember. And above all, they talked to her. As if she mattered. As if she wasn't just a leftover from a destroyed station. The first time Karen entered the ship's cafeteria, every human paused to stare. Her instinct screamed to hide. Humans were taller than she'd imagined, broader, built like walking fortresses. Their voices carried across the room like roaring machinery. But then they smiled. A human woman with brown skin and cropped silver hair waved her over. "You must be Karen. Captain Ward said you're joining us for lunch." The entire table brightened with welcoming expressions. She didn't understand. Strong species didn't welcome the weak. But humans were not like other species. They placed a steaming tray in front of her, Nutrimash shaped to mimic her people's flavors. Someone had taken the time to research her species' food. Why are you doing this?" she whispered. A man with a cybernetic arm shrugged. "Because you're alone, kid. That's reason enough." Another chimed in, "Humanity's rule, we leave no one behind." She had heard this phrase before, spoken in fear by alien traders. But hearing it said warmly was different. Days turned to weeks. The humans repaired her injuries. They taught her basic Terran phrases and let her explore the ship's safe areas. Captain Ward checked on her often, too often for someone as important as him. One evening, she gathered her courage and asked him, "Why save me? I'm small, weak, not useful." Ward looked at her, astonished. "Who told you that?" "My people. Everyone. It's true." He crouched down to her eye level. "Listen carefully, Ren. Strength isn't just muscles or armor. Strength is surviving, enduring. You lived through something most adults couldn't. That makes you one of the strongest people on this ship." She stared at him, speechless. That was the first time she felt something like pride. But the galaxy didn't care about her healing. The Gorthak returned. Middle, the threat returns. The Horizon Ember received a transmission. The Gorthak Overclan had placed a bounty on a Yivran survivor, Ren. They wanted her dead. The humans were furious. "That's a child," growled Commander Ruiz, slamming a fist onto the table. "They are putting a price on a kid's head." Captain Ward's voice was a quiet storm. "No one touches her. Not while she's under our protection." But the Gorthak weren't just slavers. They were strategists. They knew Ren had seen the raid. She could identify their captains, their ships, maybe even critical weaknesses. She was a threat, and threats were eliminated. So when the humans entered neutral territory for resupply, a Gorthak ambush fleet was waiting. The battle was brutal. The humans fought with terrifying precision, moving like coordinated storms, firing weapons Ren didn't recognize. Their ships danced between plasma beams, returning fire with devastating accuracy. But the Gorthak flagship broke through and latched onto the Horizon Ember. A boarding tube punched through the hull. Dozens of armored Gorthak warriors flooded in. Ren was ushered into a sealed compartment by a medic. But she could hear everything. The screams, the clashes of metal, the guttural Gorthak barks, the thunderous human shouts. Then the compartment door hissed open. A towering Gorthak captain stepped in, his eyes gleaming with triumph. "There you are," he snarled. "The little witness." Ren froze. Before he could grab her, a blur of black armor slammed into him. "Captain Ward." They crashed into the wall, trading blows that echoed like thunder. Ward's armor sparked under the Gorthak's claws. The Gorthak roared, slashing deep grooves into Ward's plating. But Ward didn't retreat. He fought like a hurricane unleashed. Finally, with a grunt of effort, he drove his shoulder into the Gorthak's chest and pinned him. "This child," Ward growled, "is under human protection." And then he ended the battle. But Ward collapsed moments later, injured and bleeding. Ren ran to him, tears streaming. "You protected me, again. Why?" He managed a weak smile. "Told you, kid, we don't abandon our own." Ending a new family. After the battle, humans across the sector united in outrage. Within a month, they launched a coordinated strike on Gorthak slaver rings. Within 3 months, the entire Overclan leadership had been dismantled. All because they threatened one child. Ren watched the news from the medbay, disbelief flooding her. Humans didn't just save her. They avenged her. Days later, Captain Ward visited her, arm in a sling but smiling. "You doing okay?" he asked. She nodded. "The Gorthak, they are gone. Because of me?" "Because they crossed a line," Ward said. "Humanity has many flaws, but hurting children? That's the one thing we don't tolerate." Ren hesitated. "What happens to me now?" Ward sat beside her. "That's up to you. We can take you to a refugee colony. Or, she whispered. Or you stay with us. As part of the crew. As part of our family." Her chest tightened. Family. A word she thought she'd never hear again. She leapt forward and hugged him tightly. I want to stay. Ward chuckled, patting her back gently. Then welcome aboard, Kaya Ren of the Horizon Ember. And for the first time since her world ended, she felt safe. Not because she was hidden. Not because she was forgotten. But because the monsters everyone feared were actually the guardians she had always needed.